Mr. Sunshine.
I think that's Captain Sunshine. Okay. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Creativity, to me, is being able to smash the idols like Abraham. Creativity is to be able to see how to defang the pharaohs like Moses. Creativity is figuring out how do you break monopolies like a good Jewish boy named Jesus did 2,000 years ago. But what the world is currently enslaved to and enslaved by is oil, coal, and gas. And we are poisoning our planet. We are committing suicide by burning fossil fuels. This is the challenge of our generation. And we're all culprits in this story. So the deserts of Israel have actually had a very nice history of seeding and inspiring ethical global revolutions. And so it's no accident that perhaps my story is part of Startup Nation Israel, begins in the southern desert of Israel. Now, Herzl, the founding father of modern Zionism, actually envisioned that the Jewish state would be powered all by renewables. It's an amazing, you can see it in his book, but he was thinking hydro. But still, the very notion that we're not going to burn anything and be able to power our future, now present country to come from clean energy that's visionary, that's amazing. And that was going to be the canal from the Mediterranean to the Dead Sea. David Ben-Gurion, the founding prime minister, another visionary, really saw that the future of Israel, but of all humanity, is being able to utilize the desert, including for solar power. So in 2006, in just a fluke of history, with my wife Susan and 5 children, we moved from Boston, Massachusetts to a small pioneering kibbutz called Kibbutz Keturah in the deserts, really in the middle of nowhere in the south of Israel. And we got there on August 24th, 2006. The reason why the date is significant is 2 reasons. One, if you've ever been in the Arava Desert at the end of August, you're about to know what happens when we open the air-conditioned van doors, and we are completely hit by the alarming heat. And even though it was the end of the day and the sun was setting over the mountains, it was like the Superman laser beam just going and just burning us. And I said to myself the most natural thing, which is, well, I'm sure the whole place works on solar power. Well, a little investigating, we realized that it didn't. And I had the great fortune of teaming up with Kibbutz Keturah, and Ed Hoffman represented the kibbutz, and he's a member of the kibbutz, and David Rosenblatt from the New Jersey area, who's an amazing partner, co-founder, and strategist. And we formed a little company with a big idea called the Arava Power Company. And I thought this is going to be really easy because also within a week of landing in Israel, the government announced that they were going to do solar power and they're going to make some regulations. So I knocked on all sorts of doors, and I thought it was going to be 6 months, and Susan was just rolling her eyes like, this is ridiculous. We went to the middle of nowhere just to have quiet time with the kids. I got involved in some mishugas. And after 6 months, she said, so where's the solar field that you thought would take half a year? And I said, well, I thought we were going to build a solar field. We have to build the entire field of solar energy generation in the state of Israel. And we identified 100 political, regulatory, and statutory battles that we would have to win. Kind of took a look at that, a deep breath, and was like, let's go for it. Because it's a great team, it was a great vision. And just also understand at the time, at that moment in time, 2/3 of the greenhouse gas emissions of Israel was coming from power plants. Well, we wanted to take that out. And 1/3 from transportation. And so Shai Agassi and Better Place wanted to take that out. And wouldn't it be something if one day we could power all of our transportation using the power of the sun? So the good news is we have a picture to show you of Ketura's son. You saw it in the video. This is the realization of David Ben-Gurion's dream, the first commercial-scale solar field in the history of the Jewish state. And it took 5 years, and it was ridiculous, but that's part of the creativity and the persistence that we've been learning about. And today, dozens of solar fields are being built across the south of Israel. There's a lot more to go, but we could become really the first country in the world going from a carbon-based energy economy to a solar-based energy economy, because now some storage technologies are coming in. So that's just chapter 1 in Dayenu, and I think we're really lucky to have been part of a battle and a struggle and a movement to help Israel become a good citizen in the world just by doing the right thing ourselves. While we're building this field, something very unexpected happened, and that is we were approached by countries from all over the world, mostly the developing world, mostly from Africa, who said, hey, startup nation, can you come and show us, like, how do you do this? And so we took a couple years to learn and to try it. But then we really understood, oh my God, if Israel is powered by renewables, please God soon, it won't make a dent in the challenge of our generation, the global warming and climate change. And so what's the situation in the world today? And do we have a unique historic opportunity and responsibility literally to save the planet? And can we be that catalyst? There's 1.5 billion people on the planet with no electricity whatsoever. There are billions without reliable access to clean water. There are billions without reliable access to healthy food. That's extraordinary. Well, if green energy can be the human rights campaign of the 21st century, then Israel can be a superpower for goodness, even though we're small. Why? Because the world needs food, water, and energy, right? Well, water, I mean, we're the most innovative country in the world when it comes to water and water technology. Food, we're the most innovative country in the world when it comes to agriculture and food production. And now there's, some of us working in energy and renewable energy. But why is this a human rights campaign? Because the International Declaration of Human Rights says that people have a right to work. They have a right to health care. They have a right to education. But without power, you can't make that happen. You cannot have development. And so 600 million people in Africa without power. You saw the clip on Rwanda. I want to tell you about one of my heroes. Her name is Anne Haman. And she decided that she's going to form an Israeli-style youth village in Rwanda based on Lake Yamin Ort for 500 orphans. And it was a decade after the genocide, and there were 1 million orphans right when the genocide was over, and 10 years later. And she said, that's inexcusable. We have to do something. And she looked at Israeli innovation, and she brought it to Africa. And it's based sort of a hybrid of kibbutz Keturah and Yamin Ort. And you'll actually see the picture. It actually looks like, the classic kibbutzim. Please go back. So our family was there volunteering. And Anne, at a certain point, said, Yossi, do you see the area up behind the school? Why don't you build over here one of those Israeli-style youth villages? And maybe some of the revenues can support the village a bit. And so it's our first pilot. Please, God, we'll have a chance to really fulfill this vision of working with a visionary who's trying to help orphans and to bring renewable energy to a country that only 10% of its people even have electricity. And then when you look at the big picture, we have big ideas, but they're manifested through small steps of creative people working together. There are about 100 million orphans in Africa because of AIDS, hunger, poverty, and war. And there's no systemic solution. So imagine if we can actually make this dream work. Imagine if we can actually bring Israeli-style youth villages to help with orphans all over Africa, and at the same time also give much needed green energy to these countries and to these people who don't have it. And with energy, you can pump and clean water, right? With energy, you can transport food, and you can bring in innovations. And so I think with energy, with green energy, we can save the world. So the challenge of our generation, I think, is climate change, right? And global warming. And we in Israel, we have an opportunity first to model what we should be doing just for ourselves. We have a historic opportunity to change the world. So to me, creativity is fulfilling the dreams of our people and of our prophets and of the world to save ourselves from the disasters that we're largely responsible for causing. And so creativity is how do you take a small country like ours and do what my teacher and friend Saul Singer teaches, how Israel can become a platform to solve global problems. Creativity for me is how can Israel, our tiny little country, become a renewable light unto the nations. Thank you.